Okay, so thank you ever so much for inviting me along to the third webinar for Ismaila. I can see some regular faces in the room, which is incredible, and it's my absolute honor to be here. So I very much hope you find this session useful, as I think you have the other two. I'm going to try and answer some of the questions that came up in the previous webinar that we had last Friday, and then show you lots of new ideas around interactive activities that can be used either synchronously or asynchronously in the remote languages classroom. And so the first thing we'll do is go on to the next slide. Okay, so just to let you know, I am recording this session. If anyone doesn't want to be recorded, feel free to leave now. I'd love everyone to put comments in the chat, but please don't put your microphone on unless I ask you to do so, or likewise with your webcam. With the chat, if you have a question, if you want to put a Q before your question to make it very clear, Helen Myers is very kindly offered to collect any questions that might come up during the webinar, and so she'll be putting those into a Google Doc or what have you, and then if she can answer them there and then in the chat, she will do that. So I'm very grateful for Helen for that, but we can have some Q&A at the end as well. So that's absolutely fantastic. So on the page there, you can see it's my Twitter handle and my email address underneath as well. I'm planning, as with the other videos, of publishing this onto my YouTube channel, which is at JoeDale100. Just do a search for JoeDale100, you'll find it. And you're very welcome for the next hour or so to learn some more about interactive ways of promoting collaboration, creativity, and formative assessment using any device in the remote language teaching classroom. Okay, so this is what we're going to try and do today. It's a lot of material, but I will try to go at an appropriate pace, giving lots of practical examples from language teachers, as well as the how-to part. So as you can see, we're going to look at Seesaw, Wheel of Names, Socrative and Quizizz, plus a few other things as well. And we're going to start off with, well, you'll see right now, we'll start off with the following, which was a question that we had last week. So if you remember, we were looking at Google Forms, and I was asked the question about if retrospectively you want to remark a piece of work that someone has done within a Google form, is it possible to do that? And I knew it was possible, it's just I couldn't remember how to do it. And then I went onto Twitter directly afterwards and direct messaged a couple of Google experts, and they gave me the answer, which was great. So essentially what you have to do, as you can see in the screenshots on the screen right now, is you go to, you click on the individual option under responses. And then as a result of that, you can then go down to an individual person and then choose whether you want to change their mark or not. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come out of my presentation, and I'm going to go to this live, if that's okay. So that's here. And then if we, this one, there we are. If I just open this up, right, okay. So if I now click on responses, so we had 13 responses last time, and you can see here we've got the individual tab. So if I click on that and I go down, I can see that Andy, for example, he wrote Shah instead of Anshah. This is not trying to signal you out, Andy, or anything. I was just showing as an example. So what I did was, this was originally, you would have got 0 out of 1 for this, but I was able to change the mark here. And so even though this is being marked as incorrect, because I changed this, it was then allowed to be marked as correct. And I did the same for the other ones as well. So instead of getting, I think it was 1 out of 4, you then got 4 out of 4. And to check that, all I have to do is click on the Google Sheets, which is there. And you'll see that next to your name, it now says 4 out of 4. So when you change that retrospectively, it will automatically change within the Google Sheet. So that's to answer the question. So you can do it. And that's how you do it. I just couldn't remember how to do it when I was showing everyone last time. So there we are. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay, the other thing which has happened in the last week as well, literally yesterday actually, was I was talking about the fact that Google Meet, they were going to make it free for all Google users. And as of yesterday, that's exactly what they've done. So I spent a little bit of time familiarizing myself with Google Meet. So I thought I would pass on, because I think there are some people in the session who are using Google Meet. So the big difference between the free version now for anyone that has a Google account is that you can't record your session. So if you're a G Suite school, then you can record your session, but you can't with the free version, which makes sense because obviously the amount of storage space you would need to do that. Oh, I presume that's their argument anyway. And it's also at the moment, it's unlimited how long you can have your meetings for. But as of the 30th of September, you can only speak for an hour, which I think is absolutely fine. And this is with the free version. With the G Suite version, then you'll be able to carry on as normal. But it just means that you don't have to have a G Suite account now. You can, anyone with a Google account can have a Google Meet right from Gmail or right from the link. So with that in mind, I wanted to point out a couple of Google Meet extensions which really add functionality to Google Meet. So one, for example, is Google Meet Grid View, which was available before they updated the interface, which means it's now actually possible to have a grid view, but not as many grids compared to the Google Meet Grid View here. So that's a really nice extension to have. The nod reactions for Google Meet extension is all about being able to have the ability to do the non-verbal feedback, which we talked about in the first webinar, which is when you can do a thumbs up or have a clap or this sort of thing. If you install that extension, then you get that feature. But each person would have to install it that you were interacting with, and that would only work on the desktop version, not on the app version. The Google Meet push to talk is very handy. So what that allows you to do is basically, if you press the space bar in Google Meet, you pause yourself, but you can't, annoyingly still, you can't mute everybody, but I believe that's on their roadmap. But what you could do is you could ask everyone to mute themselves simply by tapping the space bar. But again, they would have to all install it onto their Google Meets. And then the Google Meet Classroom extension allows you to have a whiteboard. So you could be demonstrating something by showing the screen in your whiteboard. But if you wanted everybody to interact on the same whiteboard, then you would use Jamboard, which is what we looked at last time. And then the Meet chat transcript is as it describes. Essentially, you can make a transcript of all the chat that's happened in a session, and it will save automatically to a Google Doc, which is also really nice as well. And then on the right hand side here, we've got Google Meet breakout rooms. I know I've talked about this in the past, but I found a really nice blog post which is down at the bottom here, how to create and use breakout rooms in Google Meet. And they literally go through step by step, and they give you a template that you can then use in order to set up your own. So if you're looking at an easier way of setting up Google Meet breakout rooms, then I think that blog post is absolutely awesome. So there we are. That's why I'm jumping up and down with my Bitmoji there, that I made last time. Okay, now this is based on feedback that I had this week. I'm changing the format slightly of this session, in the sense that, as you can see there, what I've written is, can we see an example or outcome of how a tool can be used in language learning first, and then see one or two further suggestions on how it can be used in MFL before the step-by-step guide. So of course, the answer to that is yes, and that's what I'm going to do right now in the next part of the presentation. So so I was very grateful for the feedback, and I've tried to change the format slightly as a result of that feedback. Right, let's carry on. Okay, the other thing that I've been doing with this in mind, we looked at Jamboard last time, and so I thought it would be helpful maybe to put together a whole set of different frames around Jamboard and how it can be used specifically in languages, which I'm going to go through with you right now. Is it Ian? So anyway, in the chat, if you just go to my YouTube channel, if I just put my name in the chat in relation to my YouTube channel, so it's just Joe Dale 100. If you go to my YouTube channel, then you'll be able to find the last two recordings and watch everything back. So if I click on the link here, this is something that I worked on a couple of mornings ago, and I'm just going to go through with you now these slides. So these are essentially ideas which I came up with around how you could use Jamboard in language learning in a remote context, either synchronously or asynchronously. So as you can see, we've got the frame, next frame up here. So the first one is use Jamboard as a type of whiteboard whereby you're recording the screen and you could then be making a screencast of anything that you do on the screen. Any animation, any movement, any drawing, any voiceover will all be captured in one place. So if you wanted to make, for example, a grammar screencast, either individually or collaboratively, then you'll be able to do that very nicely. Next one, which we did last time, so just around the idea of creating a crossword puzzle using X words that allows you to then make a picture of the crossword, and then you would then ask your students to then work on that. And you could, if you had breakout rooms, you could assign different frames to different students if you wanted to, for example, which would be a really nice idea, I think, in breakout rooms. Okay, the other nice piece of news which has happened this week is it's now possible to put in your own words in Bitmoji, which obviously is a huge game changer. So if I just show you what I mean, if I click here like this, and then I could write, for example, Ismala, like that. And as you can see, these have all come up here. So I can choose one. Let's go for, obviously, this one. There we are. And then suddenly I drag it on. There we are. I drag it onto my page. And it's, so in other words, I can type in any words that I want and drag it into Google Slides, drag it into PowerPoint. So that's fantastic. And then if you wanted to take two Bitmojis, for example, one that's just standing up there and then the one that's, you know, doing a star jump, just put them both together using a website like giftmaker.me would allow you to make a an animated Bitmoji, which is lots of fun. I'll just delete that quickly there, and then we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so I talked a bit about breakout rooms a moment ago. This is just a reminder that Jamboard would be fantastic in breakout rooms, whereby you would decide on the number of frames you wanted based on the groups that you had, and then give them all the link in the chat, and then you can get them all to make work. And then you can, as always, click on the three dots top right, and then you'll be able to save a frame as a picture. The other piece of advice as well, before we move on to the next one, is I would recommend whenever you make a Jamboard that you share with your students, you always click on the three dots here and click make a copy, because that means that if, for example, one child clicked clear frame and you forgot to click undo, then it means you've always got a definitive copy that you can go back to, as opposed to feeling demoralized if you feel that the students have deleted your hard work. So that wouldn't happen if you clicked on make a copy. Okay, around the sort of photo card idea, I was thinking you could use a website, Photos for Class, which allows you to find a Creative Commons licensed image. When you download it, the link appears at the bottom of the picture, and then you could get the students to either ask questions or make statements onto the sticky notes and then drag them around the picture. And that could be a good discussion, I think, around for the photo card. Snipping tool is just absolutely awesome. I've been using it all the time. So if you don't know the snipping tool, it's part of Windows, and you can just drag over, for example, a worksheet, put it into Jamboard and turn it into an interactive worksheet. But just Jamboard snipping tool in general for presentations is just absolutely awesome. Right, this is also really important as well. If you're using Google Classroom, I found out that with Jamboard, you can easily just make a copy of your Jamboard automatically for each student, or with each student. So in other words, you could create an assignment within Google Classroom and then automatically send a copy of the Jamboard that you made to each student, which I just think is absolutely awesome. And then the YouTube clip, which you've got a screenshot of here, you can just watch that back, and then you'll be able to see exactly how to do that. So yes, you could use Jamboard with Microsoft Teams, absolutely. You're just basically sharing the screen. You're putting the link of Jamboard into the chat. You're then sharing the screen, and then you're letting the students get on with it. So you could either use it synchronously or asynchronously. So yes, absolutely, it would work in Teams as well. Okay, let's carry on. This one is just like quite a fun activity to begin with. So just to see where the students are at, how they're feeling. So again, I just sort of got this idea from, I went onto Twitter and did a search Jamboard and saw the sorts of things that people were coming up with, and someone had done this. So they put an arrow here. I then put the two icons there, which I found in the iOS app version of Jamboard. And I thought the students could sort of drag and drop their names according to how they felt on the scale, essentially. And then you could then obviously, in the target language, you could ask them how they're feeling and what have you. This is a similar idea which we did last week. So in other words, ask the students to find a Google image search and then put their the results of that onto the Jamboard so they can then express how they feel. And then again, you could use that as a prompt for your target language work as well. This is just a simple idea. Go to flaticon.com, which allows you to find royalty-free images and then get them to label it. So you could, for example, have a couple of students work together on the same frame, finding different pictures on flaticon.com, and then getting them to label each one as a collaborative activity. This one is like a grammar thing. So I just made this grid in Google Drawing, and I was suggesting it could be like a drag and drop activity whereby you're putting all the subject pronouns here, auxiliary verbs here, and past participles here. And it's, you know, you could take the same idea and just make it into another type of grammar activity whereby you are sorting out the different labels, which you could color code as well if you wanted to, into their correct groups. Again, a simple idea. I was just drawing a picture here, and then I could get another student to then label it based on my picture. A little bit like Pictionary, I suppose, that sort of thing. So this one would be, you know, again, a sorting activity, which could be either sticky notes or images. So I was thinking this could be good for, say, you know, healthy eating or not healthy eating. So you would drag and drop all the pictures or text into on one side of the debate compared to on the other side of the debate, whichever category it might be. So I was thinking healthy eating, non-healthy eating, but you could use it for debate at A level as well, couldn't you? Which I know lots of schools are involved in nowadays, which I think is fantastic. Again, a simple idea, a screenshot of a text, so make it into a reading comprehension, and then get the students to come up with questions and answers around that text as well. Again, very simple idea, but easy to do in Jamboard. Dialogue practice, maybe get two students to work on different lines of a dialogue, have all the lines of one person in pink, all the lines of another person in orange, and then just get them to either write it there and then, or maybe that they're already there, and then they have to drag them into the correct order, that sort of thing. This is just a simple idea around being able to export your jam as a PDF as evidence for, say, retrieval practice the following lesson. That's always a good idea, I think. And then another very simple idea, take a screenshot of a Google map, put it into Jamboard, and then get the students to practice directions. Or it could be around sort of talking about culturally interesting buildings in the local area as well, whatever you want to do. But I just thought a simple idea around directions would be great. Again, very, very simple low-level matching activity, in this case with colors and text. This one you may not have heard of. I only heard about this week, the Scrambulator, which is a great name, isn't it? So you put the text in the Scrambulator, you then click Scrambulatorize, I think it is, and then it puts the words in a different order. So with that in mind, you could then create this sort of thing. So you have the three images and you just put the words in a different order. So the idea is that the students can then drag and drop them back into the right order. And then this is Text Mechanic, which is similar, which has other types of, you know, word processing activities, reverse text generator, etc. So I just thought that might be a nice way of generating. Yeah, you just drag and drop the text, exactly. Yeah. So, oh, I see. No, so with the Scrambulator, you would just you would generate it into a different, or you can copy and paste the text. Yeah, you can't drag and drop it. You could copy and paste it, or you could just use that. You could just write it out in a different order. But I just thought it was quite nice to include that as a quick and easy way, or maybe get the students to use the Scrambulator and then get them to create their own, as it were. Okay, and then finally, this is just a suggestion for people to then go to another Jamboard, which I've created, which allows them to then put their own ideas in. And I've actually got it here. There's only 2 ideas so far, one of which was my own anyway, which I'll just show you quickly. So this was from someone else. They haven't said who they are, so I don't know who this is that did this, but this is a nice idea, I thought, using as a way of checking everyone is present at the start of the class, but also getting them revising key vocab from a range of topics. So as you can see, that's lovely to see a bit of community support there. And then the next one, if I move that out of the way, this was my idea. Again, I thought you could use this for doing battleships. So I got the icons here from I think it was Flat Icon, if I remember correctly. I just drew the battle. I got the battleships. I mean, and then when I was teaching with grammar, I used to do this sort of thing all the time, and just playing battleships. So you'd have one frame for one student, and then another student would have another frame, and they would just have to promise not to look at each other's frames, and then you could then play battleships over a live video conferencing session, which might be quite fun, I think. So there we are. So that's Jamboard. So those are some practical examples of how you can use Jamboard within MFL. Okay, let's carry on. Okay, this is something else which I've been working on this week. I just got some in the chat. What do you think would be the maximum class size to make this work? Okay, good question. I mean, the number of frames you can have within a Jamboard is up to 20. So you can't have more than 20 frames in one Jamboard. So you just have to work out. I would just go for it and see what happens. Really, that's what I would say. I think the students would like it, but clearly they could clear the frame if they wanted to. They could drag and drop other people's work somewhere else, or delete things if they really wanted to. But once they've got that out of their system, I think that it would work very nicely. And it's what I like about it is that it gives that sort of collaborative real-time aspect to your video conference sessions, rather than it being more sort of like, you know, you set the work, they do the work. Having this sort of like interaction with them, I think, is something which Jamboard lends itself really nicely to. Right, so this was something I worked on, I think it was yesterday, if I remember correctly. I know an educator in Australia, Chris Betcher, I've known for many years. He produced a Google form with lots of different quiz ideas. And so I thought that was great. So what I did was I took that and I adapted it to my own sort of situation in relation to languages. Oh, that's right. And I've made an automatic copy of this, which I can put in the chat for you if you'd like. So it means you can actually make if you click on that, it'll make what's called a forced copy. But if I click on the first link, then you'll see what this is. So again, what I've done is I put lots of practical examples of how you could use this in languages. So essentially what I've done is for each question type, I've given a description on how you can then pull this together. So this one is a multiple choice one, when it's just a simple radio button there, and then you have to put in the correct, the past participle of the verb aller. And there, this one is another multiple choice one, whereby you've got picture prompts for each question. And again, I've given some description here. I've taken the graphic again from the Jamboard I showed you a moment ago. So here I'm suggesting that you could have a picture here and then the 4 questions, or the 4 multiple choice possible answers underneath. This one is pictures and pictures. So you've got the picture here, which I found via Google Image Search that you can do within Google Forms. And then you've got the 2 pictures here to show how the person is feeling. So again, very visual, that one. True or false activity. Very straightforward. This one's quite fun. So this is when I put the audio that I've recorded using a web tool called Online Voice Recorder. And I've given instructions here on how to do this. You then upload it onto Google Drive, put it into a folder, make the folder so it's anything you put into that has a shareable link automatically, which is what I've explained in the notes. And that means you can then have audio for 4 different possible answers. You have to listen to each one and then say what the answer is. This one's quite nice. This is a multiple choice grid. So you get to, it's a matching activity essentially. So you just click on the right one. I know these are simple examples, but you can clearly make it more demanding if you would like to. This next one was based on a suggestion from a teacher on Twitter, saying that you could use multiple choice grid as a way of doing a reordering exercise, which I thought was quite nice. So reordering words in a sentence by clicking on the correct number. So I thought that was great. This one is called a drop down. So this is for when you've got lots and lots of multiple choice answers. So I went for Mrs. Vandertramp, and I just want people to identify which is the verb which doesn't take être in the passé composé. This one is checkbox 1, so you just click on the correct one. Again, this is when you've got more than one possible answer, so that works well for that. This is when you've got an audio question, so you just click on the link and you then listen to the audio, and then you then select which ones are correct. So again, it's not one right answer out of all of these. Some of them are right and some of them are not correct, and you have to get all of them right to get the marks, which is just how it works in checkboxes. This one is a short answer one, so just a classic gap fill. So you put your answer in here. This one, again, listen comprehension. So I've just embedded a YouTube clip, which the students have to then watch and then put their answer in here. This one is a tick box grid. So again, you've got a number of different answers possible for each one. So you just do that. And then finally, one that's not self-marking, which is just a student voice one, you've got the linear scale. So then you can just ask the students to click on one of those. So certainly in the past with Google Forms, I've tended just to do sort of the simple ideas that I showed you last time. So hopefully this will give you many, many new ideas on how you can use Google Forms for languages. That was the point of putting it all together. And lots of people have said nice things about it on Twitter, which has been great as well. Okay, let's carry on. Right, so again, some practical ideas around Flipgrid. So we're going to have a look at these now. So this is Jane Bassnett, who works at Downhouse School. She's head of department there. She's a lovely lady. And she has done a fantastic set of shorts, as they're called, Flipgrid shorts, which is available in the main interface. And you just click on shorts, and then you can make a video which doesn't go into a grid. It's just a standalone video. And so in this one, she's going through all the different ways in which you can use Flipgrid from a language teaching point of view. And as you can see here, she's posted a photo onto her screen, and then she's annotating over the top, describing, I think this one is the simple future, if I remember correctly. The video underneath is the person behind this has been doing lots and lots of videos on his YouTube channel. And this one, How to Teach Remotely with Flipgrid, is very, very good. All the videos that I've seen that he's done have been fantastic. So again, I'd really recommend checking that out. And then another one from Jane here, talking about the grammar point of different past participles. So again, this is a short here. If you just do a search for her name and Flipgrid, you'll find different shorts that she's made. And then this person here, Jess from the Flipgrid team, has done a really nice video just going through some of the options which I didn't go through last time. For example, the stop motion one, which is when you click, you keep pressing pause while recording, and that makes a stop motion video, which I thought was a very creative way of doing this. So there are some more examples for you. Likewise with Padlet, I went on Twitter today to try and find lots of examples for Padlet. So top left here, we've got Kerry Anwen James, who is assistant head teacher in Cardiff in a Welsh medium school, which is why some of these are in Welsh, but she's also a fanatic Germanist as well. And she's also a lovely person. And so at an event which Helen and I organized a couple of years ago, she did this German GCSE revision wall, which went down a storm. And then Esmeralda Salgado, who works at King's Ely, she copied the idea essentially and created a Padlet for her GCSE revision schedule with her students. And then on the right-hand side here, this is from Giselle Fitzbaldi, who used the idea I was talking about last time of creating speaking homeworks, whereby she created the Padlet. She asked the students to then record all their audio onto the Padlet. And as you can see there, she can then give them feedback so they can then improve as a result. So those are a few practical language examples of what we did last time. But one of my top tips for this, which is what I've been doing all day today really, is if you do a search for MFL Twitterati plus a keyword, it could be the name of a tool or say speaking or grammar or whatever it might be. And then I'd particularly recommend clicking on the photos option in Twitter. In say, 10 minutes when you're having a cup of coffee, what have you, you'll be able to see all the archives that have been using MFL Twitterati plus that keyword. And no doubt within that 10 minutes of having a cup of coffee, you will find an absolute gem within that, because all the archives are all saved automatically on Twitter. And it's just absolutely fabulous. So that's what I did today. I just put in MFL Twitterati plus Flipgrid or Padlet and found out lots of examples from real teachers. So we're now going to move on to Seesaw, which we haven't looked at yet. So I'm starting off with some examples. So on the left-hand side, you can see there's a teacher here, Jean-Pierre Ussaf, who works at the American School in Paris. So I've met face-to-face a couple of times. And what he's done here, he's taken a screenshot of an image of around daily routine. And then within Seesaw, he's used the label tool, which is just click on the T option within the screencasting tool, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. He's created labels, and then the activity, if I click on the link actually right now, I can show you. If I click on the video, which should be here, if I click on that, there we are. If I just click play, you can see what the student is doing. So just dragging and dropping the label underneath each picture within Seesaw.
Il mange le petit déjeuner. Il se lave. Il attend le bus.
You get the idea. Okay, so that's that one. And then on the right-hand side, this is a conversation that I had with a primary school teacher just very recently, a couple of weeks ago, April the 30th, whereby she uses Seesaw asynchronously with her students, in the sense that she posts a video or an image or some text up onto the Seesaw. She then asks the students, the children, to then post their answers onto the Seesaw, and then she can give comments, either written comments or audio comments. So for languages, I think the audio comments in particular are absolutely fabulous. And then she also is talking here about how she can use images as feedback within Seesaw. So I'm going to go into Seesaw in a moment, but I just want to go on. Yeah, so then this is how you find out about Seesaw. So the QR code here is you scan that to take you to the Seesaw website, app.seesaw.me. And this was the question that I was asking on April the 11th. If you're not allowed to use tools such as Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or Google Meet for safeguarding reasons, what advice would you give about teaching asynchronously but ensuring your students feel connected? What interactive tools do you use? And one of the ones that came up was Seesaw. So if I give you an example of a really fantastic extension, a Seesaw extension, I'm going to do this right now. I'll show you how it can work. So if I click on this link, you should notice some familiar faces here. If I click on here, there we are. Now, at the top of the screen, you can see I've got the icon here, which is post to Seesaw. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move this the floating toolbar out of the way. I'm going to click on here. Actually, let's move the chat out of the way. Right, I'm going to click on here. And this is the Seesaw extension from Seesaw. I'm going to click on Capture Selected Area. Then I have to drag over the page like this. Oh, hang on, let's do that again. My finger is getting a bit sticky. Let's go back. So it's going to be here. Right, let's do that again. So click here. Capture Selected Area. Right, okay. There we are. Much better. Right, okay. So as you can see, what's happened is that picture has then gone straight into Seesaw. So as a result of that, I can now, if I wanted to, I could click here and I could add a label. So I could write Ismaila Committee like that. Okay. Okay, like that. I can, yeah, there we are. But if I press record, I can do the following. Okay, so I'm recording right now. I'm going to click on the pen tool and they're going to choose the color. So let's go for a nice red color. And I could be identifying someone in the picture and I could be talking about the physical description of that person, or I could be saying about this person. I could be saying, you know, about his family, or this person, I could be drawing an arrow and I could be saying what color hair or eyes he has, etc., etc., etc. So in other words, you can use this clipping tool as a way of capturing any picture on the web and then giving a voiceover, and everything that I'm showing right now has been captured and is being annotated, is being captured as a video, I mean. So now I press done or pause. I can press pause or either, and I can then clear that and I can do something else. But you get the idea. If I click done now, and then there we are. And there we are. If I now click the tick like that, and then in a normal situation, you would add all your students into the class. I've only got myself in this class at the moment, but I then click on the tick here. And as you can see, there it is. And if I press play now, everything should be captured. Okay, so I'm recording right now. I'm going to click on the pen tool and they're going to choose the color. So let's go for a nice red color. And I could be identifying someone in the picture and I could be talking about the physical description of that person, or I could be saying about this person, I could be saying, you know, about his family, or this person, I could be drawing an arrow and I could be saying what color hair or eyes he has, etc., etc., etc. So in other words, you can use this clipping tool as a way of capturing any picture on the web and then giving a voiceover, and everything that I'm showing right now has been captured and is being annotated, is being captured as a video, I mean. So now I press done or pause, etc. Now underneath you see it says comment. So I can leave a comment automatically on anyone's work, but if the students publish their work in the same way, I can leave a comment on theirs, or I can allow them to leave comments on each other's work as well. So I could be saying, for example, here, great job, and click post. But also, if I click comment, I can click on the microphone like this and click start recording. Okay, so now I'm giving a voice comment to that piece of work, which could be a student's work, saying how well they've done and what they could do to improve it. There we are, that's now processing. I click the tick, and you can see now that the comment is underneath. So Seesaw is brilliant, I think, in languages for promoting speaking and listening skills, pronunciation, and audio feedback. You'll see as well, if I click on the 3 dots here, I can click on edit item, like this, and then I can click on the little speech bubble there, or the little there, and I can click a voice caption, or I could put here example caption. So there's just another thing that you can do like that. There we are, caption added. So again, just as a type of feedback, I just think it's wonderful. So if I come out of this, and I show you one other thing. If I click the plus icon here and post student work, this is what the students would be seeing. Then they can, for example, take a photo, draw a picture without, a bit like the Flipgrid whiteboards I showed you last time. They can record a video, they can upload something like a PDF and annotate over the top. They can make a note as well, or they could add a hyperlink. So this is particularly popular at primary school, but there's no reason why you couldn't use it with older students as well. And that's a very, very brief introduction, but I just think it's absolutely fabulous for privately publishing student work. And you would have seen as well, if I just get rid of here, it says get home learning codes. This is something else that you can have a look at. So the student, again, automatically only gets to see their own work. They don't get to see everyone else's. So you can set it up so they get to see everyone gets to see everyone else's work, or you can have it so they only get to see their own work. But in a lockdown situation, you probably want to have it so that you only get to see your own work as opposed to everyone else's. But what Ouija teacher, the teacher there that was talking about her use of Seesaw, is she posts something onto the wall, as it were, onto the class feed, and then the children can then give feedback and post their own work with their parental support. And I just think it's absolutely wonderful. So that's Seesaw, with some practical examples on how it can be used. Right, Wheel of Names. Wheel of Names has been around for quite a long time now. It's fabulous for as a simple name picker, but you can also use it in lots of other ways, which I'm going to demonstrate right now. So as you can see, it's a name picker which also allows you to add images and longer sentences, and you can group a lot of wheels all together in the same space. So here, the first wheel is a name picker of which is your favorite Beatle. You've then got a set of questions in Spanish. I've then used a website called Autodraw, which allows you to draw a picture and then save it, and then it automatically suggests an image that it could be. So I drew a picture of a rabbit and it turned it into an actual rabbit. Let me just show you. Let me just click exit here, and I could just show you right now live. So I go here and I go to Autodraw. Okay, and that was one I did earlier. So if I click on start over, or just go, hang on, I know, if I just click here, I just delete it. Right, so if I wanted to draw a rabbit, for example, I click on auto draw, and then what I tried to do, I'm sure you appreciate, I'm just trying to draw a rabbit here. It's not the easiest thing to do with a mouse. That looks more like a cat, actually, doesn't it? No, but let's see. Let's see what's happening. Right, so at the top of the screen, oh, it does, wow, phew. Right, at the top of the screen, it's suggesting all these things it think it might be that I'm trying to draw. And clearly it's a rabbit, and then you get a lovely rabbit instead. And then you click on the 3 lines there, and you click download. It then downloads, you see these are the ones I did earlier, and then you can upload it onto Wheel of Names, like that. So if I go back to my presentation, I can show you some some examples of exactly how you could then use this. So yeah, if we go on to the next one, if I click back on present and we go on to the next slide. Okay, so Vincent Everett, who's a friend of mine who is a head of languages in Norfolk and also a stalwart in the Association for Language Learning. And as soon as he saw me tweeting about Wheel of Names, he thought it would be a really good idea to have 4 wheel of names next to each other. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment, as a way of having like a mini sentence builder. And he did a webinar for Linguiscope recently, which you can get the link of here and watch exactly how he put this particular part together. This is after 20 minutes, 48 seconds that you can watch this particular bit, but I'm just going to show you live now. So if I go to the next page, this is a representation of his sentence builder. So sort of classic sentence builder or writing frame as it used to be called, I believe, when I first started teaching. And so the idea is you take one item from each column and then you make up a sentence. So what he does is he will say the English and then the student will then say the French based on what's in each column. And I can just see that I've made a mistake there, but never mind. So if I go on to the next page, I'm going to show you this live. So you can see I'm using a Chrome extension called Tab Resize with Wheel of Names. Tab Resize is a completely free Chrome extension, and you can choose the number of rows and columns that you have. So this screenshot here is what I'm about to show you live. So I'm going to come out of my presentation and I'm going to go to here and I'm going to launch Wheel of Names. Like this, okay, and then I'm going to click open like this, and you can see I've made these all beforehand. So I'm going to go to wheel 1 and click open like that. So that's my wheel 1. I'm now going to go to Tab Resize, which is here, and I've already made the one that I want, which is this one, the 1 times 4. But if I wanted to make it from scratch, I would click the plus icon and I would put in one row, 4 columns like that and click save. Okay, so now I just have to click on here and it suddenly will turn my screen into 4 different columns. And so as a result of that, I can just open up the Wheel of Names in each one. So I go here, Wheel of Names. So each wheel can be saved. So if I now click on the 3 lines here and I go to open and I choose number 2 this time, which is here. Okay. And then I go here and do the same Wheel of Names. So you would set this all up beforehand, obviously. Go here, go to open. This time we want wheel 3. And then finally here, Wheel of Names. Okay. And this time I want number 4, which is here. And there we are. Right. So then the idea is I then spin each one. Okay. And then there'll be a random answer that comes up for each one. So in this case, it's going to be and then the idea is you would then carry on back at the beginning. So what Vincent does is he gets them to do this. He then uses it as well. If it's just a sentence builder on its own without Wheel of Names, he will say the English and then the students have to translate that into the target language. But in this example, he's just generating the random sentences, which will then allow them to promote their speaking and writing skills, essentially. So you just set it all up. And then if you wanted to, you could click remove for each one so that it reduces some of the options. So it means you can have many, many options, and each time it will produce a random sentence, which I think is quite fun. And you can remove the sound as well if you want to. Yeah, absolutely. If I just show you how to do that, because that can get a bit annoying. You click on the options and you get rid of the ticking sound like that. And then after spin, you get rid of the applause, and you can even get rid of the confetti as well for each one. And then when you save it, it remembers those settings. And you can remove each word, as I've said already. So have you tried this already, Ms. Bravo? I'd imagine it sounds like you have. And then if I click here, great. And I click here and I go to tab glue, which will then put all of the tabs back together into one tab, like into one browser window. So that's Wheel of Names and Tab Resize, and I think it's great for sort of random generation of possible sentences. Right, Socrative. So again, what I've done here is I've taken some examples from Twitter. So this is from Harrogate Grammar School, talking about their use of Socrative being good for checking understanding, grammar. It shows an Excel spreadsheet, which so you can identify common problems that the students are having, and great for individual feedback. This is from The Guardian, the highlighted bit in yellow, which was written by Will Strange about 5 years ago now, talking about the fact that Socrative is really good for AFL. And as I said, collates all the results in the same place. This was the idea behind this is the MFL Twitter article. A couple of people decided they wanted to share the codes for different assignments, different quizzes, I mean, which is lovely, but it seemed to sort of die a death. They only did about 11 or so different codes, but the idea was there, which was lovely. And then you've got Hawthorne Languages talking about doing this space race as a nice way of finishing the lesson, which is great. So if I carry on to the next one, right? So then Socrative itself, I'm just going to come out of this and just show you. So this is when we're going to get a bit interactive, if that's okay. So I'm going to go to Socrative now, which is here. I'm going to log in as the teacher, and I will give you the room number in a moment. Let's just get rid of that out of the way. Got too many floating windows at the moment. Right, teacher login. Okay, so I'll just log in quickly. I'm logged in already, perfect. And then I'm going to click on the quiz one in a second. But before I do that, you'll see that there's multiple choice, true, false, or short answer. You can do those on the fly, which is very nice. There's no preparation for that. But if I just go straight to the quiz one, and I click on the ISMLA example quiz like that, and click next. The important thing here in a distance learning context is teacher paste. So I click on teacher paste, and I get rid of the require names option and click start. Right, what I'd like you to do, please, is I'd like you to go to Socrative.com and log in as a student. So Socrative.com, so whichever device you're using, be it a tablet or a computer, put in the room name, which is 29701. And then what will happen is I will then be able to start showing you the questions, and then we can then go from there. So at the moment, I can see that no one's in the room. But thanks, Ellen. So yeah, just go to Socrative.com, put in the room number, which is 29701, and that will allow you to join the session. And then once you're ready, I'll then be able to show you how it works, as it were.
Is that right, that I've just given one which gives you to the login, where you would, it doesn't seem to have something where you put the
Hang on, if I click launch, have I done it wrong? Hang on, what have I done? Let's just do that again. No, hang on, this is right.
Okay.
If I click next, teacher paste, start. Yeah, that's right. As soon as, yeah, 4 people are in the room right now.
Right.
Yeah, no, that is right. Yeah, so as you can see here, what's happened is you have the option of adding an image for the question. So that's what I've done. I've just taken this sort of random image which I generated recently, and what it allows you to do is it allows you to have, for example, a reading comprehension if you like, but it's teacher paced. So you could give them, say, a couple of minutes to answer the first question, then click next, which means it automatically will go on to the next question. And then if you wanted to, you could use the same image for the second question. So if you're pointing the webcam at their hands, you can then, you know, it's a good way of trying to encourage them not to use Google Translate. So the room number was 29701, 29701. And we're just having a bit of well, I'll just give you a moment to do that. If you want to take part as well, that's fine. But essentially what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to show you, thanks Helen, I'm trying to show you how you can use Socrative as a way of discouraging students from using Google Translate, which is one of the questions that came up last time. but showing you practically how to do that. And so you can do those sorts of on-the-fly questions like the true or false, the multiple choice, and the short answer. But the pre-made quizzes one are very powerful, I think, to encourage them not to use Google Translate, because they won't have time to use Google Translate, because the text is an image, not text they can just copy and paste into Google Translate. Okay, let's carry on if that's okay. If I click next now, you'll see a very, very difficult true or false question. Again, using Autodraw. But again, that could be the long text. So what I'm showing you simple examples, but it could actually be quite a meaty text if you wanted it to be. And you could use a snipping tool to take a screenshot of that text, put it in as the question each time, and then you choose how long you give the students before you click next for the next one. Okay. And the last one, again, a very difficult question. Very good. Very good. Now it's interesting, you see, because I've written here, how do you say a pizza in French? And so pizza, I've not given as a possible answer. What I've done is I've either put in une pizza with a capital letter or without a capital letter. So that would be wrong. That would be marked as wrong, interestingly. So again, that's all the fun of these sorts of multiple choice questions. So then I click finish and click OK. Okay. And then I can see all the answers here. I wouldn't show this to the students for obvious reasons, but I could, if I was on my own, as it were, I could say who needs to work on their pizza vocabulary. And then I could also click on reports here. And this will come up and I can click download and it will generate an Excel spreadsheet. Again, I wouldn't show this to the students. It's just for my own benefit. So if I download that there, that should be coming up now. If I now click on it, it will then generate. We always like a spreadsheet, don't we? So I can immediately see who's done what and then what they need to work on. So I can then put in intervention strategies as a result of that. So I know that was very quick, but Socrative, I think, is it's completely free. Everything I've shown you is completely free. There is a premium version, but everything I've shown you is completely free. And there are lots of tutorials on YouTube as well. Just to finish up with a couple of minutes, so that's okay, because I think we started about 5 past. Quizizz, it's been getting a lot of love over the last couple of years. So it's similar to Kahoot. And again, these are practical examples of teachers using Quizizz. So you've got a number of different exercise types. You've got multiple choice, checkbox, fill in the blank, poll, and open-ended. This school here, Forest School, they're using it as a way of finishing off a lesson, which I've seen quite a few schools doing that, departments doing that. So it's a nice way to finish the lesson. You've also got here, you've got Karine, who's in Spain, using it to recap a grammar point, tense, the future antérieur for retrieval practice. You've got, again, Esmeralda Salgado using Quizizz for self-assessment. Katie Lockett, who's in Gloucestershire, using it as well, I think this is hilarious. This is actually when she was in China 2 years ago, but as you can see, her students apparently were saying, I'm loving it. And on seeing the data at the end, oh, that's cool. You can send that to our parents, which I just think is hilarious. And then on the right-hand side here, this is Andres, who I mentioned in the last presentation around Google Forms. He's using Bitmojis, multilingual Bitmojis, to make memes that you can within Quizizz. So when the children get a right answer or a wrong answer, then his Bitmoji comes up on the screen, which I think is very cool. Let's just see, I've got a question from Sophie. I have used it on Firefox before. I'm not sure what the problem is with Firefox, but it certainly works fine in Chrome. You'd have to just experiment with that. Right, so to finish off with, we're going to have a go at this right now, if that's okay. So I'm going to click, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to go straight to Quizizz. Just give me a second, and then I'll show you. So I'm just logging into Quizizz. Oh. Just give me a second. There we are. Right. And if I then go to here, oh, right, I'll just share my screen again. Perfect. Right. So let's go back here and share my screen. And here we are. Right. So what I'm particularly excited about with Quizizz is the listening comprehension aspect of it, the way that you can record audio questions. Now, this is one that I did a couple of weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago for the British Council. And we're just going to have a go for it, if that's okay. So I'm going to click play live. You can assign it to homework. So you want to do it as asynchronously, you can, but we're going to do it synchronously. So I'm going to click play live, click continue. There's 6 questions. And on your screen, you can see it's asking you to go to joinmyquiz.com and for you to put in a code. So if you could go to a new tab, put in joinmyquiz.com and put in that code, which is 771236. And then as you can see on the screen, the names will start coming up. When I click start, it's very important to mute the audio top right, as in I will need to mute the audio, otherwise you won't be able to hear the audio. So what I've done is I've recorded audio. You can record up to 10 seconds. The link is joinmyquiz.com, not quizizz.com/join. It's just joinmyquiz.com, as you can see on the screen. So for each piece of audio, you can record up to 10 seconds. And I just think this is great for remote listening comprehension. So I'll just give you a moment to join. I don't know of another tool which has that sort of gamified approach with audio. And then in a moment, I'll show you how to record your own question. Okay. Are we all ready to go? Should we just go for it? Okay. I'm not sure. Why were you confused, Sophie? So, okay. Essentially, I've made a quiz already. I'm going to show you how to make a question in a second, but I've made the quiz. You have the code like with Kahoot, and then everyone gets to join. So I'm just going to click start now, if that's okay, because we are sort of running out of time a little bit now. So I'm now going to press mute top right. And you've got 6 questions. Here we go. Right. So what you have to do is you should have the questions in front of you. You listen to each question and then you answer it. The questions are very, very difficult. And then we'll add a new question in a moment. So I think this is really nice for distance learning, listening comprehension. So I'll just give you a moment to answer all of those. And if I click on questions here, I could obviously play the audio back as well. So if I were to press play now, you'll be able to hear it. What is the capital of Indonesia? And then you just simply select the correct answer. So this is a multiple choice one. You then got a checkbox one, where you've got more than one answer. Fill in the blank one, a poll one, and an open-ended one. And the last one is just one that I did recently when I was demonstrating this with another group. So I'll just let everyone finish, or let's see who's going to win first, I mean. And if I want to, I can click on the show only top 5 if maybe some students might feel a bit embarrassed if they weren't doing as well. Are you clicking on the audio, Davina? And have you got your audio turned up? It's not muted. Are you using the Chrome browser? Or you could be using the tablet if you want to do. There's some Quizizz apps as well. I suppose if you couldn't hear them, then as the teacher, you could then play them as well. Is it asking you to do accents, Andy? Oh, you mean my accent? You can't understand my accent. Okay. Okay. Just do Alt-GR and then the E key. Alt-GR and the E key. Okay. Okay, so some of you have finished now, so I'm going to click End Game if that's okay. And End Game. And we can see who was the best. Well done, Sophie. Fantastic. And there we are. Oh. And then you've got all the classic sort of things. You can see how everyone's done. And then, yeah, that's how it works basically. And then you can click on review questions and all the rest of it. But because we're sort of running out of time now, I'm just going to quickly show you how to make a question like this. You can also click download results to get an Excel spreadsheet. Oh, on a Chromebook, you need to enable the international keyboard to allow you to add accents. Okay, or there's a Chrome extension called special characters click and paste. Special characters click and paste, which I've got highlighted right now, which will also let you do that. You can boot out people with comedy names, I think, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure you can, but I need to check on that. Right, so if I go into here, which is the test we just did, if I now click edit and go down to the bottom, okay. So what I do is I choose one of these, so multiple choice, for example. As you can see, it says question 7, and here it's got media. So I can click here and I can now record my voice by clicking on audio. It is a little bit like a Google form, but it's more gamified and what have you. Yeah, it is a bit like a Google form. I can upload an MP3, I can record it directly. Here we go. What is the capital of Australia? Oh, that was wrong. Let's do that again. So I delete. Here we go. What is the capital of Australia? I forgot about the 3-second countdown. Here we go. So what is the capital of Australia? Right. Then you click save. Okay. And then you would say something like listen to the audio and choose the right answer. Okay. And then there we are. And then you just put in all the answers, making sure you spell them correctly. And then you tell Quizizz which is the right answer. You put a little tick there and you click save. And that's it. And so you just can add audio to all the exercise types. And then having done that, you go up to the top and you click done. And then you either click play live as we did, or you can assign it as a homework so it can be done asynchronously. And that's how that works. So let's go back to here. Okay, and then just as a little reminder, I know I've put this in a couple of times already, just a little reminder, but with that in mind as well, on the next page, I've actually put together a list of 17 different sessions that I can offer all around remote language learning. So if you are interested and you want to either scan that QR code or click on the link when I share the whole presentation with you, I would love to, if you'd like me to support your departments at this difficult time around different ideas. I've put down every single idea I could think of, essentially, in different sessions, and they could be split up as well. I could design something bespoke, whatever you would like, really. So that's the end of that plug. And then to finish off with, here's the presentation. If you'd like to access it, surprise, surprise, I've called it is.gd/ismler3 this time. You can scan the QR code, and I would sincerely like to thank ISMLR for this opportunity. I've had a great time working with everybody on this, and I really sincerely hope you found it useful, and that it's given you lots of ideas to support you at this difficult time. And if I can help in any way whatsoever, either through other webinars or through support on Twitter or other social medias, then let me know. I'm more than happy to support and help. So I will stop sharing my screen right now, or should I'll just give you a moment actually to finish making a note of that link, and then we can all turn our webcams on. Maybe I'll stop the recording, we can turn our webcams on, and we can have a little chat as well if you would like. But thanks again, and I've worked very, very hard on these 3 presentations, so I sincerely hope you found them useful. And if there's anything that I haven't covered in this one, which you're not sure about, let me know, and I can I can post something on the ISMLR Facebook group as well if you'd like me to. I've actually got a Google Doc. In fact, I'll find it for you in a second about how to add accents on different devices. I've got it in my browser, so I'll do that in a moment. So I'll stop sharing my screen right now, if that's okay, and I will stop recording, which is here. Okay, and then I'll share some other things with you. And